I, Comrade Adams Aliu Oshomole.
June the 23rd, 2018, Adams Oshomole emerged as the national chairman of the APC at the party's national convention in Abuja.
Bear true allegiance to the All Progressive Congress.
Taking over from his kinsman, Chief John Oyegun, the first substantive national chairman of the APC. It was not difficult to know the leadership style of the former Labour Union leader and two-time governor of Edo State.
I remain a friend to these governors. I respect them. I appreciate them. I even appreciate them for the fact that, but for their support, I will not be chairman. And you do not go stepping on toes of those who supported you to get to a position.
About a year after assuming office, Mr. Oshomole led the APC into a general election with his party emerging winner in the presidential election, but with major crises in states like Zamfara and Rivers State. Not long afterwards, things fell apart between himself and his successor in Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki. The crisis in the House of Assembly there and the leadership of the APC in Edo State chapter became very notorious. The root cause of the court order was a crisis in his home state, where he said to have been suspended. Soon, the crisis reached the nation's capital. Protests rocked the APC office.
Since he came into this office, he has been creating problems for this party. We will suffer to win election. At the end of the day, opposition will go to court and collect the leadership from us.
And counter-protests too.
If today you are hearing they say some persons are saying they want him removed, I don't know why they want him removed. Why? Is it because you are fighting for 2023 that is not even yet around the corner? This is just 7 months into this very second term of the president.
His home state has been the theater of the crisis, and the BC Akande Reconciliation Committee may not have his work cut out for it. Seun Okinbaloye, Channels Television News.
Well, the battle has since been taken to the courts. Only 2 days ago, we saw a federal high court here in Jabi grant an interlocutory injunction suspending the chairman of the All Progressives Congress. And then just yesterday, we saw another court in Kano State presided over by Justice Louis Alagua, granting or setting aside that particular suspension, which was done in Abuja here. We have with us this morning Honorable Ehioge West-Dahosa, who is a 3-time member of the House of Representatives and also a lawyer, to help shed light on some of the controversy that has arisen as a result of this, it would seem, conflicting court judgments, whether indeed they are conflicting or whether, you know, maybe they really do counter themselves. Honorable, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, you have seen both judgments, I want to believe. You saw that granted by the High Court here in Jabi, Abuja, and we also saw that came yesterday, but not without controversy. People have asked, are in these courts of coordinate jurisdiction, and can another court of coordinate jurisdiction set aside what another court of coordinate jurisdiction has done?
Well, let me explain this. What you have is not a situation of setting aside. You have the Federal Capital Territory High Court giving its orders with respect to the matter before it. And then you have the Federal High Court, Kano, giving its orders with respect to the matter before it. So what you have is contrary orders of two courts of coordinate jurisdiction who have before them cases that may not exactly be the same, and the parties are not the same. With respect to the plaintiffs, in Kano you had one plaintiff who seemed to be an aggrieved party man, And in Abuja, you have about 6 plaintiffs, some of whom hold offices as officers of the party. Now, with respect to the defendants, in Kanu, you had INEC joined in order for consequential orders to be made. And in Abuja, INEC is not a party to that matter. So when you say it was a review, one was a review of the other, it's not quite correct. That's a social media slant to it. What you have is conflicting orders, contrary orders, which puts the question of which order supersedes the other, which order is preferable, and which order is enforceable.
Which one takes precedence?
Yeah. And now, as it were, let me be clear that when you have conflicting orders, you then have to look at what these orders are targeted at. For example, there is no conflict whatsoever on the directive on INEC. There is a positive order flowing from Kanu to INEC. Do not deal with anybody else with respect to electoral matters other than the national chairman, who is known as Adam Oshomole. There isn't any such conflicting order when it comes to the decision reached in Abuja. So let's get that clear. There's no conflict in that. There's one positive order there. And to that extent, INEC may hate it or like it. They are bound by the provisions of Section 287 to abide by that or go on appeal if they don't like that. Now, when it comes to the question of whether or not Oshomole be suspended, this is where the conflict lies. Now, in Abuja, it appears the Abuja Capital High Court, the Federal Capital Territory High Court, was working on the notion that there was a valid order of suspension from a ward somewhere in Nigeria, and to that extent was giving effect to that suspension by saying, do not allow the national chairman to parade himself, seal up his office, and do not allow him to represent the APC. Now, coming from Kanu, there seemed to have been a challenge to the validity of that suspension. You have a party member going to say, no, some members of the ward cannot, for any reason, claim to suspend the national chairman of a party contrary to the provisions of the APC constitution. Please do not give effect to that suspension and do not disturb the national chairman from parading himself, from doing his job, pending the determination of the motion on notice. Now, given this sequence of events, we will then look at 2 scenarios. One, which of the courts has a more expansive jurisdiction? And which of the courts has jurisdiction to entertain this matter? With the greatest respect to both courts, in my own view, this matter is largely more than 80% an intra-party crisis. And on the state of case law, and with respect to Supreme Court position on this matter, in 90 out of 100 times, none of these courts can entertain the crisis of a party bordering on leadership and membership.
It's interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
Let's hold it there, and let's go to Lagos for another perspective. Ayo Ankayode.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. Well, we have with us here this morning to look at the second part, the alternative perspective to this same issue, the Honorable Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Paul Ohwabamu. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You want to begin by reacting to some of the things that you've heard?
Yes, I listened to my brother, my friend. I think I agree with him in part, and the other part I will not. I think he has said the court in Kanu did not sit to review what the Abuja court did. I agree with him because in any case, the Kanu Federal High Court cannot review or sit as appellate court over a decision of a coordinate, a court of coordinate jurisdiction. That one is a thing of common knowledge. But where I would differ is the substance of the whole matter. It borders on the, validity or otherwise of the chairmanship of Adams Oshomole. Both courts had that. And the tendency to rush to Kanu after judicial pronouncement has been made in Abuja, telling him not to parade himself as national chairman again. Rushing to Kanu to reinforce his chairmanship, I think is an abuse of court process. Because at that stage, it is only the Court of Appeal that can hear him out. The court,
Are you
Abuja,
saying that
excuse me, please. I'm not sure. Okay. The Abuja court did not say Adams Oshiomhole is expelled. The Abuja court only gave validity or affirmed what Ward 10, his own words, in Esako West did on the 2nd of February and 2nd of November 2019 by suspending him.
Sorry, on that.
And the validity of that suspension is the substantive matter, which the court in Abuja will look at. And we commence on the 7th.
Was there a letter sent to the chairman that he's been suspended?
The chairman knows he has been suspended.
That's not the answer to. Was there a letter sent from his ward that, Mr. Chairman, you have been suspended?
Obviously, the ward suspended him and was notified. The local government, ratified it, and the state did its own. Okay, the National Working Committee...
Sorry, you heard... one moment. You heard Honorable West also say that the High Court in Abuja made that pronouncement on the assumption that there is a suspension.
No, when he said the assumption, I cannot say the assumption because he is giving the benefit of doubt that the High Court gave that. This is why the High Court said, stay clear, let's look at the substantive, the validity or otherwise of that suspension. If it's true or not, they must look at it. You cannot continue to act as chairman when your ward are suspended, not as a national chairman, as a member of the ward. And membership is the foundation. If you were not a member of the ward, there is no way you would have contested in the first place to become a chairman of the party.
That same suspension which we reference, which you are referencing right now, that the Comrade Adams Oshiomhole was at the president's office yesterday, and reports had it that he presented a document that said that a vote of confidence was actually passed on him at his ward level. But you are saying that that is not the case?
No, yes. After the suspension, he hurriedly gathered his own supporters. So obviously, you must have some people who will also support the national chairman. And those ones went to, give a vote of confidence on Adams Oshiomhole. But I think the real issue is this. Your ward suspended you. If Oshiomhole was not the national...
faction in the ward.
No, the ward chairman.
Because you're saying that
the ward executive led by the chairman. That is the issue now. The ward executive led by the chairman suspended Oshiomhole.
But then some will also assume that the person the ward chairman, is partisan and consequently maybe supporting the government.
There are grounds for punishment in our constitution. Article 21 is clear on it. And one of such grounds is factionalization of the party or creating parallel organs of the party, which the ward chairman and the executive saw he was doing.
Doesn't the same constitution also avert to the fact that before you take such action, you need to refer to the National Working Committee of the party?
No.
Especially when it has to do with an executive member of the party?
Executive committee of an organ has right to hear and determine any complaint from that organ.
So did the executive committee hear?
Yes. The executive committee of an organ, whether it's local government,
not at the national level.
No, the issue of national is when the state is through with the issue, the matter, you take it to the national. But who are you taking it to? It will be tantamount to reporting Oshiomhole to Oshiomhole.
But that's what the Constitution says.
No, but in such situation, this is why, in the wisdom of the court in Abuja, the High Court, Federal Territorial High Court, says, stay clear. You cannot be a judge of your own cause altogether.
But he is not the only member of that National Working Committee. He is not the only member of that National Executive Council.
And that's why even his own deputy national chairman is also saying he should go, he should step down. That one is a party, even in the matter.
So
he has vested interest
having
And beyond the door, let me tell you, the issues are many beyond the door. There are conflicts everywhere. The Southwest has its own, Northeast has its own. Going to Abuja, going to Kanu, the real issue here is Oshiomole's tendency to taunt the judiciary is always there. Because after the Bayelsa judgment, You saw he came out to say the judgment lacks logic, the judgment lacks reason. That's right. And went to further asking the court to review, even when it was found too official. So in the same way, it's nature, that normal grandstanding. But this time I have told people there is no terror in Oshomole's threat. This one is just impotent grandstanding. At the end of the day, the grounds of appeal they have filed to quash what the Federal Capital Territory High Court has done is in order. Going to Kanu is disabled. First, territorial jurisdiction has killed that matter. One, you don't file a matter where the cause of action did not take place or where any of the defendants don't reside. It's a common, it's a, you know, an elementary thing in our law.
So you're saying you won't respect that court's
No,
pronouncement?
nobody, no reasonable person will respect that. They struggled in error. No reasonable person will respect
then a judge, a court admitted that case and heard it.
Yes, now.
And made that pronouncement.
That's
a court
why,
of competent jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You say?
A court of competent jurisdiction, according to the chairman.
Yeah, it's competent.
Yeah.
So that to the extent I'm a lawyer, I will not denigrate the court like Oshomole. So, when he was talking after meeting with the president, he said his lawyers advised that the courts in Abuja lack jurisdiction. Those issues, issue of jurisdiction can be raised at any time. Even on appeal, you can raise it.
Okay.
And that, because a federal, agency was involved, it ought not to have been filed there. But that one goes to no issue because the federal agency involved in this matter were just nominal parties. No declaratory reliefs were given to them. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to Abuja for other perspectives on this matter. Malpe.
Thank you, Ayo. Do you want to quickly respond to the issue of jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah, correctly. First, I want to say that he speaks more like a politician, my brother in Lagos, because he's tending to denigrate the person of Oshomole. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to encourage some level of respect and integrity in what we tell the public. Now, you have to understand that the APC Constitution is not a piece of paper. It's founded on Section 222 of the Nigerian Constitution. So you got to respect it. And then you have to also understand that under the APC Constitution, the only body that can deal with the suspension of a member at the ward level has to be the ward executive itself on a complaint arising from the polling unit. In other words, those who form a particular polling unit must raise that complaint from the polling unit upon which the ward will then act. Otherwise, where the ward is the one generating it, then it must be acted upon by the local government chapter. The APC Constitution is very clear. So if you look at what the ward chairman and the others have done, it's completely arbitrary and against the provisions of the APC Constitution. And in any case, it's a mark of discipline to these party men who are going to court. The APC Constitution is very clear that if you go to court without exhausting the provisions of the APC Constitution, it's an expellable offense. So what the court is doing is encouraging people to commit an offense against their party. Significantly, it's not Oshomole that took the matter to Kanu. It was not the one. Those who are forum shopping are those who know that the question of the validity of suspension of Oshomole is already a subject of challenge before the Federal High Court Benin City, where 14 members of the ward are challenging 9 who claim to have suspended Oshomole. Without allowing that to be determined, then the FCT High Court assumed jurisdiction and assumed that there was a suspension and began to make orders that are so expensive, including orders which seek to control the police, such as go to the office, seal it up, don't allow this man to enter. It's only the Federal High Court under Section 251 that can make orders to control the police. Control of a federal government agency is the exclusive preserve of the Federal High Court. No amount of consequential order can enable an Abuja High Court to say, police do this, do that. The only opportunity given to the High Court to deal with such matters is under the Electoral Act, where you are over contest over party candidates or where they are fighting over a fundamental enforcement of human rights. Short of those, that's why I started by saying that there is no justiciability, and the courts are compounding their problems by opening the door to all sorts of complaints. play the politics in the political arena.
But there are those who argue that, we are human beings and conflicts will always arise and that the courts cannot completely shut their doors when members of political parties come complaining about things that happen within their parties. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, but the courts have said in a number of decisions that there are certain conflicts that we will deal with. One of those conflicts would be those that are created by law. For example, Section 87 of the Electoral Law makes it clear where a party member gets a ticket and he believes he won the election and he's been undone by politics, or the rules were not complied with, he can approach the court. That's one. And then two, I know that there's been a major fraction crisis in the PDP in the past that had to deal with complete separation of a political party into two. And that's implicative because the Constitution allows a member of the National Assembly to defect if that occurs. So the court had to quickly make a pronouncement on whether such fraction existed or not. But in this case, there isn't a challenge to the chairmanship of Oshiomhole. There's no alternative contender. What you have is intra-party squabbles. And if you cannot stay in the kitchen, you leave it. Every party is a voluntary organization. The membership must subscribe to the Constitution. You don't denigrate your Constitution. Oshiomhole was elected by a convention. The three means to take him out. Call him in a convention. If you don't want him getting out. Two, get NEC to pass a vote of no confidence. He gets out and an acting chairman is appointed. Or three, get the National Working Committee to which he belongs by 2/3 majority, pass a vote of no confidence on him and remove him and act until ratification by convention. These are the three methods spelled out in the Constitution. But this idea of the court saying, seal up the office of the national political chairman, don't let him go in there. You are running the APC. Is the court a member of a political party?
Well, let's take a break at this point. When we come back, we will be wrapping up our matters. Please stay with us. Honorable Ehioge Westadahosa is still with us in the studio and it's our closing moments with him. I want to ask you quickly, how do you think, certainly, has this matter been resolved?
Not at
with
all.
All of these court cases, it certainly hasn't been resolved.
Not at all.
So what would you say needs to be done to resolve the matter?
Well, first, in the sequence of coordinate courts, the last judgment ought to be obeyed. And then, of course, Oshiomhole is already prosecuting the appeal, I understand. And don't forget that once a man makes an appeal, challenges an order, he's entitled to parade himself until the validity of that order is held without being in contempt of court. The authorities are clear on this. And lastly, the courts must respect the autonomy of the political parties and allow them to run their own affairs by shutting their doors on political busybodies who are avoiding the rules of their game and avoiding obedience to their constitution and looking for courts of Nigeria to circumvent their political practices. And that must stop. That's my advice.
It doesn't matter that this is an interim, because you said something about the last judgment being the one to be respected.
Yeah, because
it doesn't matter that it's an interim injunction.
No, it doesn't matter. It's an order. A court order is potent. It's been given, particularly the INEC one is an uppercut because political parties all about elections. So when you talk to INEC, recognize this man, you've hit the nail on the head. That's all. It's not about offices or about police parading in front of the secretariat. It's about who can deal with the electoral body.
Well, we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Honorable Ehioge Westadahosa is a three-time member of the House of Representatives and is also a legal practitioner. It's back to you guys in Lagos.
Well, thank you, Malcolm. Paul Ohomam is still with us here, Commissioner for Information in Edo State. So, you want to quickly react?
Thank you very much. Let me start from the rear. When he said the last order, that of Kanu, should be obeyed. And paradoxically, the same Oshiomhole has appealed the one of Abuja. Then what will the appeal do? If the court, Abuja High Court has said, don't parade yourself, and Kanu is saying, parade yourself, you have appealed the one saying, don't parade yourself, Court of Appeal wants to hear it, to hear the reason you have for parading yourself. Only for another court of coordinate jurisdiction telling you now to parade yourself. Then what will Court of Appeal do? It's abuse of court process.
It would
and I'm
seem
telling
then
you
that it's the politicians that are confusing the judiciary.
No, then, but the judiciary must be careful not to walk into this ridicule because.
So, do you mean that the court should have said, just as
there are certain
Honorable
matters.
West did also said that the courts should have shut their doors against the politicians?
The truth of the matter is that can matter, because once a decision is taken, judicial notice is taken of it. The court in Kanu knew that that particular subject matter has been dealt with, so it ought not to have entertained it. That is the truth.
But then another argument that is it ought not to have become a court case in the first place. If internal politics, internal party politics had been followed.
Yes, when it's severe, yes, we can handle. But when it becomes critical, people go to court, and the court being, arbiter that will not be biased, that will not be prejudiced, people believe can get the right thing. Then he also made mention. Made mention of the fact that I'm denigrating Oshomole. No. It's not a question of me denigrating. It is what one is deserving. Okay. A man cannot travel the Devil's Expressway and expect to arrive at God's destination. So how am I denigrating? I'm only speaking what all others are saying.
We have to wrap up now, but in your opinion, what should be done in 30 seconds? What should be done now to have peace?
In my opinion, what should be done is for courts to respect other courts' decision.
Okay.
And that the Abuja Federal Capital Territory High Court decision ruling that Oshomole must not parade his head, that is the status quo, okay, which the court in Kanu says we should maintain. Okay. The status quo is that Oshomole is not is suspended for the time being until the appeal is heard.
We have to thank you very much.
Yes.
Paul Ohobanwo is the Commissioner for Information in Edo State. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Well, that's the show today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Kayode Okikele.
I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. We'll see you later, but have a lovely weekend.